everybody has been busy, being busy. And with the pandemic and the working from home makes it that we are going from one day to the next, to 1 week to the next, to 1 month to the next, from a year to the next. And everything is just like all just jumping one on top of the other. And we have more we go and the less headspace that we have. Now, maybe some of you tried meditation, journaling, or every other technique, and you're like, you know what, this one I don't see the difference. So this week we have with us Erin Urban, who talks about mindlessness, and she walked me through her exercise. Seriously, you will notice it in the video, how I go from being my bubbly, confident, not just confident, but my bubbly self to my grounded self. So this week's episode is not one that I would recommend watching as you're doing other things. Maybe you want to save it to a time where that's the only thing that you're going to do, because I want you to do the exercise that Erin shared with us, and she made me go through it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy your interview. Erin, thank you so much for accepting my invitation today.
It's such a pleasure to share space with you today, Sara. I'm very excited about our topic because I think, as we were chatting before the show started, now is such an important time to have this conversation.
Yes, so much. So before we get into the topic, could you take a moment to introduce yourself so people can really discover who you are?
Well, I'll give you the short and sweet version.
Yes, because there's quite the...
You can find out more about me at www.coachurban.com if you want to know all the rhetoric. But basically what I am is I'm a certified executive coach. And what I do is I help emerging and evolving leaders like you, probably tuning in today, helping you gain more confidence and clarity so you can achieve more influence, impact, and income.
Thanks for setting the tone. One thing that we spoke together before was the word mindlessness.
Yes.
When you told me that, I was like, oh my gosh, tell me more. So what is it? What is mindlessness?
Mindlessness is what I call the practice of coming to what you might call a zero state. Now, what is a zero state? Well, a zero state is a state of pure clarity. And as you might agree, it's very difficult to do that right now with everything that we're bombarded with every single day. So many distractions, so much chaos, so much uncertainty. We're living in a state of FOMO, VUCA, and you name it.
Whichever acronym that we want to use, throw them in there, it's now. Yes.
Right. It's all happening now. And what I hear very loudly is, how can I see the opportunities? How can I progress? How can I be a high achiever? How can I be that best version of myself when I am constantly being pushed off my center? Mindlessness is the ability to come back to that center so you can have the clarity you need, so you can accomplish the goals you want to accomplish. It's like setting the reset button on your computer, if you want to give that as a good analogy. Because you'll know if you have a smart device, every now and then they'll do that health check and they'll say, you need to restart your device. You have too much junk in your cache, right? Well, we have a lot of junk in our cache. So what's our cache? Our cache is our short-term memory. We have so much we're trying to hold on to. All this collateral, all this content, all these to-dos, all these worries, and they're floating around in our brains. We're trying to hold on to them. And our brains, quite frankly, have a limit, okay? Your short-term memory cannot hold on to everything. In addition, when we're bombarded by all this worry and concern and things to do and everything that we're trying to hold on to, it becomes impossible for us to think clearly. Additionally, we tend to elevate into what's called high beta. So high beta is very agitated brainwave state.
Yes.
And you'll know you're there because you can't think clearly. You can't make good decisions. You're not even sure how to prioritize. It's just like bees are buzzing around in your brain and you're very tense. So I don't know about you, but I hold all my tension in my shoulders. So my shoulders end up creeping around about my ears. So
well, do you know how I realize it? Very often it's less physical, but more like if I'm on social media, for example, and I'm there for business, whatever, and there's a post it sounds interesting, but it's very long. I'll go, I don't have the time to read this. And it could be very insightful, but just the fact of seeing a long text, I'll go, I can't do that. And I'll just shut it down, go to something else or whatever. That's my cue to say, okay, Sara, the brain is currently saturated.
Right. And that's a very good point because, and you will find that there's a lot of people that feel like that all the time. Yes. They feel like that constantly because their brains are we're just overloaded. We're overwhelmed. We're overloaded. Now, why is that? Okay. Well, some people would blame, smart devices. Some people blame, the current economy. Some people can blame COVID. Whatever it is. Yeah, there's a lot, but there is a lot going on. Mm-hmm. Our rate of change at the moment is extreme. And when a human being is thrust into what you might call a constant change cycle, so let's just be clear, change was always the constant. Yes. However, it wasn't happening quite so fast.
Yes, the last 2 years have been incremental or exponential even.
Yes, it's unprecedented how much change we're seeing in such a short period of time. Now, a lot of these changes are good. Some are not. COVID is not great. We're learning a lot through this. However, it's just so much coming at the individual. So when the human being is introduced into what we might call a strong VUCA cycle, the volatile, uncertain, it's just challenging and ambiguous. It's thrust into that constantly. Your stress level is normally just going to rise. Okay, that's just your constant state of stress. So whatever that is will elevate. Then you add on the daily stressors.
Yes.
My employees are leaving me. My child is sick. I can't go to the gym. I can't, whatever it is.
Like a client left. There's always something.
It's just this constant bombardment, and then we have this overtone of uncertainty from the news, which, as you and I were discussing before the show, we've unplugged, not to stick our head in the sand, but more to preserve our boundaries. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute.
Yes.
So you get the idea. We're bombarded by a lot. This induces a higher rate of stress. So our cortisol level is up. We're more likely to go into fight or flight mode, which is super unhelpful. And our thinking levels, our brainwave states are going into high beta, which is a very agitated state. Mm-hmm. We find it that we just are feeling overwhelmed, stressed out, burned out. Based on all the feedback I've got from all of my clients, my entire network, people are burned out. They're overwhelmed.
Clients are coming to me and say, Sara, I don't even know where to start. And they're like, you see that they're in that high beta and it's just, and there's no transition, right? So from last year to this year, from the year before, and it's just like from 1 week to another, it's just all blended and colluded together that it's like, when do I come up for air?
Right. Or when can I just sit down?
Yeah, that too.
I know it's interesting this past holiday season that a lot of people were taking 2 and 3 weeks off. Mm-hmm. That's not the norm. That's not the norm at all. I know I took 3 weeks off because, like myself, like so many others, I want to show up and be there for my clients, and my clients are running around like crazy. So, that translates.
Interesting. I see both in my clients. I see some who took some time off and now they're back and they're like, I'm not sure if I want to be back. And I see some who were on vacation with their phone, so we're not on vacation. So I really see both. But in both, the state of their mind is the same thing. Mm-hmm. There's no clarity.
So that's what mindlessness gives anyone and everyone that is willing to explore it. Mindlessness is a state of hitting the reset button on your mental computer. You're giving yourself space and clarity. And it's so important to do that, because if you don't, you're just in this constant state of spin.
Yes.
You're what I call the spin cycle. So, the spin cycle in your washing machine, you're there constantly. And that's not productive. It's not helpful. It does not give you the confidence and clarity that you need to make the right decisions. You can't even make decisions sometimes. It's very, very unhelpful to be in this spin cycle.
Yes.
Right? So mindlessness allows you to clear that space. And it's a very simple process. Anybody can do it.
If they want to.
If they want to. Again, if they want to, but it's so simple. So I'll share with you a little bit of a backstory.
But before we get that, could it be that some people don't even realize that they're in the spin cycle?
Absolutely, they don't. And that's one reason why I talk about all this. So people can understand, are you there or are you not? You haven't. I would argue to say that almost every person is there in some degree.
Okay.
Right? They're there in some degree. And some people are a little more laid back than others, so it doesn't affect them as tremendously. Like my husband, for example, he has a very thick skin. And so it takes a lot to get him wound up. So he's naturally just more of a laid back person. But even he feels, he's like, oh, what's wrong with you people? I'm fine. But even he feels that, there's just a lot more tension now, and there's a lot more uncertainty, right? So he can relate to it, but it may not affect him as much. I find that the people affected the most are either very empathetic, so they have a high empathy level, and or they're high achievers.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. I just saw a few clients now, and myself, but I also saw a few clients.
Yeah. Because we do. High achievers put so much on themselves already. So then add everything else that the world is throwing at you, and guess what? Your plate runneth over.
I think now people are able to position themselves of, all right, am I in the spin cycle? Like, no matter if I'm at the beginning or like the super spin there, how do I bring back, or how do I go back to my?
Yes, it's a very, very simple process. Like I said, anybody can do it. Mindlessness is accessible to anyone. Even those of us who our brains won't shut up. That's me too.
That's why we teach that. That's why we share those, right? Because we also.
Yeah. Because I'll share with you. I'll be honest and transparent. I've done the meditations and mindfulness practices, the quiet time, and great. They help. It's not that they're not helpful. It's just they don't quite clear the space. I could never really get my brain to shut up.
Well, funny, because before the holidays, I went to a 10-day silent retreat. So for 10 days, there's no walking, there's no talking, there's no reading, there's no writing, there's nothing. It's just you. And I can confirm that the inner chatter never, ever, ever stopped. You figured after like 3-4 days, there's nothing left. No. It never stops.
It never stops. And there's differing opinions where that comes from. Most people agree that it's from the left brain, wanting to fill space. And what's interesting is if you've ever found yourself in a state of flow where you're doing something that's natural to you, that you're gifted in, and you're totally focused on, you'll notice you don't have any of that chatter because there's no space for it to have chatter. Well, here's the thing. Mindlessness gets you into the state of flow without you really having to quote unquote do anything. And it's a very ingenious approach. And I happened upon it on accident because in early 2021, I found myself in a definite spin cycle. I was, let's just say, trying to be a high achiever times 200 and trying to handle all the things as an entrepreneur, as a businesswoman, and also managing, moving my mom down closer to us and all the things that go with estate sales and managing all. It was tremendous, and building a new home and. and it was too much. And I remember thinking to myself, if I don't find space and come to and able to clear my mind, all the things that are buzzing around in my brain, if I cannot find space, I will break. It was just too much. So the world said, the universe said, okay, well, here's your gift. And it just came along in a very unlooked for fashion. One of the rare moments that I actually happened to, mindlessly scroll through Facebook because my brain was so tired I couldn't do anything else. And I saw one of these ads and I just followed the lead, and it followed me to this gentleman who was talking about actually working with high emotionally intense animals, pets, cats, dogs, horses, and how you, the human, need to calm yourself in order to work better with them. So I listened to this. I was like, oh, what's his technique? And it was so simple. It's like, I'll give it a go. Why not? His name, by the way, is James French. You can look him up. It's fantastic. He works specifically with animals. I was like, but this is something for the human to do. This is something for you, the human. You have to calm yourself and enter a calm state in order to deal with these animals. So I tried it. He didn't call it mindlessness, but I tried it and it worked. It was so simple. So the premise is basically what you're doing is you're becoming extremely present. Because your body is always in the present state, you're leveraging your body to help your mind become present. And by focusing the mind on the body and its present state, you're allowing the mind to release its hold on the past, present, future, and all the worries you're trying to concern yourself with every single second.
So it comes back now.
It comes back to the now. And now is all we ever have, really. But we're great at dragging the past along behind us and grasping after the future, but we're never present. The present is all we ever have. So it's a beautifully simplistic practice, and it's not complicated. Actually, I can walk you through it right now.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, so let's do this. There are several phases. The first phase is very simple. You just take a deep breath and become still. Wherever you are, you just become still, and you become aware of being still. So you put your mind simply on your body being still. And that's the first practice. And you count it for 5. I'll do it for you. Okay. How did that feel?
Good.
Yeah. So that's just the first step. The next step is to put your mind on being still and look at a point. It doesn't matter what point, as long as it's comfortable for you to look at. I find that it's easier to look at something without focusing on it versus closing my eyes, because as soon as I close my eyes, my brain goes, yada, 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 yada.
Yes.
So let's try this. Let's try the next phase. We're going to focus our mind on our body being still. So we're focusing our mind on our body being still, and we're looking at a point. We'll do that for 5 seconds. I'll count it for you. Okay, how did that feel?
It's very soothing. And it's true that looking at something, it kind of takes this space of the chatter of, no, that we're focusing on something. You're looking at something.
Right. It's a brilliant technique that basically makes your mind focus so much on the physical things, the now-ness, if you want to give that a word. I made the word now an adjective. The now-ness is focusing on the now-ness instead of all the other things. But once you can fill it up, because this is just the second step, we have 2 more steps. So the next step is, again, focusing the mind on your body being still, looking at something, and then introducing the sensation of touch. So you're aware of a sensation, whether it's your hands on your legs, your table, maybe it's the wind blowing across your face. You're just being aware of now 3 things. Want to give that a try?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do that for 5 seconds. I'll count it for you. Now, could you think about anything?
No.
No. But here's the thing. Thoughts will introduce themselves. And you'll almost get a warning when that thought is getting ready to introduce itself. But here's the trick. You can observe it, but don't engage with it. So as my yoga instructor said years ago, she said, your thoughts are like leaves. And they're just blowing across your mind. You don't engage with it. You don't reach up to grab the leaf. You just let it continue. And you don't engage. And that's how you keep your brain from engaging. Because once you become used to this practice, sometimes your brain will go, hey, I have this thing you want to think about. No, I don't. And you just don't engage. Right. So there's one more level. And that last level, again, reminding yourself you're focusing on your body being still, you're looking at something, you're introducing a sensation, whether it be touch on your skin or wind across your face or whatever that is. You're also listening to a sound. That could be the fan in your room. That could be the cars going by, the birds chirping. It doesn't really matter. But once you focus on all of these things in the now, it can be quite difficult to think at all because your brain is totally focused on being present. And you will find that you hit the reset button completely.
That is fun because yes, it goes and gets all the senses.
You engage all the senses. And your senses take up quite a bit of cognitive space.
Yes.
When you look at it from the neuroscience perspective, it's ingenious because your senses take up a lot of your eyes, your ocular nerves, and the ocular processing takes up a lot of cognitive space. These take up a lot of space. And when we disassociate from them, we're busy in our brains, that's freeing up room for us to be what I call buzzy brained. You're just have all these thoughts buzzing around. But when you're focused on the now, leveraging the physical body, being still, looking at something, being aware of touch, and then hearing something. And that is it, the absence of thought and not engaging with any thoughts that introduce themselves. You do that for 5 minutes, a couple times a day, you would be amazed. Now I try to do it while I'm riding my bike, which I will share with you is a little bit more difficult because when you're active, it's more easier for your brain to be active too.
Yeah, I could imagine that one being a tough one, but seriously, like before or after every meal or before, if I'm thinking of how can a leader, an entrepreneur bring that into their daily life of, as soon as you sit on your office chair, that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Like anchoring it as a habit.
Yes, I recommend a couple times a day. Even prior to stumbling across this beautiful technique, I was a definite advocate of what I call brain breaks, because research has found that you are most productive when you don't force your brain to do heavy cognitive tasks for extended periods of time. I don't know about you, but most entrepreneurs, we're oftentimes overachievers.
Yeah, we burn the bridge.
We like to burn the bridge before and after and in the middle. Burning our candles at both ends, etc. A couple more cliches there, but I mean, we try to do so much, and we are also told that you have to have true grit. You just need to push through. Anything that's worth achieving is worth the pain to get there. Okay, look. Okay, fine. Everything in balance, all right? Yes. But we're really bad at finding balance. So I encourage everyone to take 3 to 5 breaks a day, no more than 15 minutes. It's not a big chunk of time, 10, 15 minutes is not a big deal. The reason you do this is to make sure that your cognitive function is at peak performance. Because if you don't, you're just pushing through, your cognitive function actually drops off to a very low productive state. And we've all been there. We're trying to finish the whatever it is.
And then we make mistakes, and then we ask teams to do stuff which are really irrelevant or not really needle movers. And usually that's not when we do our best work nor take our best decisions.
Right. And later in the day, perhaps if your team comes to you with a problem, you may handle it very differently than you did, maybe perhaps in the morning when your brain was more fresh, had more energy. So this is really giving your brain a break. So it's like, if you don't, it's like asking yourself to sprint for hours on end. Of course, you can't do that. And everybody knows in order to build muscle, you have to give yourself rest, right? Well, the same thing goes for your mental, your mental programs, your mental computation. So being able to be on your peak performance is not about pushing yourself. It's really about giving yourself those small incremental breaks. So if you can include mindlessness in that, then fantastic. Because I say one of the things about the brain breaks is, no, don't get off the computer and start looking at your smartphone. It's doing something that does not require a lot of cognitive function. And you're literally just doing a brain dump.
Well, what I find is when you tell people, when you guide people in taking breaks, they don't know what to do. So now they actually have something to do.
Yes, because we're addicted to doing things.
That's it. They're like, what am I going to do? Like, I can't go outside. I can't do this. So they maybe close the computer 5 minutes, but they'll take their phone. So now you actually gave them an exercise to do.
Yeah.
You're stopping to do this mindlessness activity.
And I will share with you, just to give you an idea about the power of this. So as I shared with you before, I was at a state where I thought I was going to break. I had so much. All right. Well, in 2021, I was able to not only have a phenomenal year as a coach and consultant, which means I'm an entrepreneur. I'm managing my business, right? That's a lot. All of you know that's so much already. Okay, then moved my mom across the country. That took several trips. Sold her home from 2,500 miles away with a realtor that was very poor, but we won't go there. Started to build on our property. So she would have another place, her in-law suite and her studio. She's an artist. Okay, so new construction. Then even before that was done, we were like, gosh, we have this townhome in the city that we don't even go to anymore. So let's get that ready to be put on the market. That took months of intense labor. Then we get that on the market. You know how stressful it is to sell a home or buy a home. It's so stressful. And then moved all of our contents. And on top of that, I completed a highly prestigious course at Rice University, a Doer Institute for new leaders and leadership certification. So I did that. And what else did I do? Oh, yes. In January, I launched my best-selling book, Elevate Your Career for More Impact and Income. Yeah.
Flabbergasted. But I think it's proof to say how we can do it, staying sane and staying aligned.
Yes.
With this exercise.
And through all that, I was the most peaceful, calm, I guess I would have to say filled up with gratitude than I'd ever been in my entire life.
Oh my gosh. And I think we need a little bit more of that.
Yes. We all need that inner peace.
Everyone needs more of that.
Yes.
Erin, a huge thank you. I'm like all like, I have the kids here there because they're like doing online school. So I have like my kids plus other people's kids. And now I'm like super zen. It's like, it's all good.
Yes.
Erin, if people want to know more about you, follow you, where can they find you on the web?
Well, there's several different ways. One would be to reach out to me at Coach E Urban, so first initial last name.com, coacheurban.com. That's an easy way. You can also find me on LinkedIn. Just, type in Erin Urban. You may see me pop up there. I have a live show every Tuesday at 11 o'clock Central Standard Time as Career Coffee Chat. So you can look that up as well. I have a YouTube channel as well as podcasts is on all the major channels, and then some I've never heard of.
Yeah, but somebody out there uses it, but yeah.
Yeah, I was like, who? So there's many different ways you can reach out to me. So please feel free to do so. If you have questions about this, or you're going through something you're not quite sure how to tackle, then reach out to me. What I do is I'm a neuroscience nerd, and I help people find that clarity and confidence that they need so they can achieve big goals, because we love those big goals. Yes. And it's important to be able to achieve that and still have the peace that you deserve.
That's the part. Thank you. I'll make sure we put all the links to your website and all your social handles in the description of the video. Erin, a huge thank you.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure, Sara. Such a pleasure sharing this space. And to all of you out there listening, keep elevating, friends.
I hope you liked this episode. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And you know what? Share it. Share it with other entrepreneurs, other leaders, maybe even people on your team who would benefit from mindlessness, from clarity, getting out of that buzzing all the time of the spin cycle, and really coming back to a space of clarity, of being grounded. So thank you for being here week after week, and I will see you next Tuesday.